Pummel? This card? What about that card? Fresh and Buds now.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds. And today we are joined once again by the wonderful Elaine Hamontree. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi, I am good. How are you?
I'm good. Busy, enjoying the hunted, I would say, quite a bit. This has been fun to play, and we're going into RTNs. I think I have one. I'm only on the books for one this weekend, but I don't know if I can make it to the Nats, so we'll see.
No.
It's tough. I'm using a lot of PTO this year, so we'll see. Maybe I'll sneak out to Vegas. I don't really like Vegas, but that's okay. We're here to talk about some Flesh and Blood because that is among a lot of our common interests, blue cheese and pickles also being up there as well, but mostly Flesh and Blood, obviously. But we got to catch up first. Last we chatted, I think it was August, and I think that was on the cusp, if I have my timelines correct, on the cusp of you announcing some major changes to the Pitch Perfect pod, which of course you are one of the hosts of. Can you tell us about that and how it's been?
Yeah, it's been great. So obviously the announcement was that we were kind of reviving the pod and introducing a new co-host, which is Kiki. And Kiki, they are just like the best not only like co-host but friend and person that I could ever imagine to have in my life. So I think that they've been a really great addition to Pitch Perfect. They kind of have like um so many ideas and visions that they bring to the table with bringing them on as a co-host. So yeah, I've been loving it. And I hope that people have been enjoying the content as well. It's definitely like a different dynamic maybe for viewers than Melody and myself were. So I don't know. I don't know what the viewer experience is like to have like a co-host changed up on you, but I love Kiki. I think they're great. I've been enjoying making content with them, and we have a lot more content coming. So hopefully we can see some fun things come out of 2025.
Well, listen, I think that people are loving it 100% because I know so. I see it all the time, and people talk about Pitch Perfect, talk about Kiki, talk about yourself. It is a wonderful addition to, the realm. I know Kiki, they've been a part of Flesh and Blood for a long time. And I do have to get Kiki on the podcast, to be honest. I don't know why I haven't. And now's as good a time as ever for me to reach out to Kiki after this. And Kiki, if I didn't, by the time you listen to this, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it. I have a couple other things to do. I have to send out these scarves. I have to dress up as Levia, as many people seem to remind me. I think it's coming in Hartford, but it's going to have a special twist. That's a nice little hit for the people. But yeah, you, Kiki, it's amazing. I think it's awesome, and I think it holds a special place in the world of fab content and Flesh and Blood in general. Now, you talk about the different vibe. What would you say is the different vibe? Because, clearly it's two different people. That makes sense. But, for those who maybe listened to you and Melody in the past and maybe haven't checked out you and Kiki so far, what would you say the differences are?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I don't know that I've like directly thought about that before. So like obviously the three of us had done tons of work together with the Rainbow Pitch League and organizing that was an effort of all three of us. And we always called Melody like Mama Melody. She was kind of the momager. And definitely like even on a behind the scenes like Melody had like just all of our documents organized and our show notes and everything so clearly organized. And Kiki and we just kind of vibe a lot of the time. So, neither a bad dynamic, both great dynamics. Yeah, Kiki and I we just vibe a lot of the time. I feel like part of the vision of Pitch Perfect, which was something that Melody and I were trying to create at the end of our run together on the podcast as co-hosts, was just kind of like moving into to different spaces of content and topics as well. And I don't like we always are trying to bring new perspectives into the game and platform, different voices, and Kiki and I do that as well. But we're trying to move more into like just having fun with content creation while also doing that. And I feel like Kiki and I have been able to take the like very baseline of a plan that Melody and I made and start to bring it to fruition. And we're gonna start doing that in different ways in 2025. But like, for example, Melody and I pretty much always had a guest where and very planned out episodes, and Kiki and I we alternate doing that. So like we do like a guest episode one week, and then the next episode is the two of us just hanging out. We've started really playing with the idea of like turning our podcast kind of into a game show a lot of the time. So every time we bring a guest on, we ask like, "Hey, we love game shows. So if there's like a game show section that you want to do, that could be like special for your podcast, like let us know." So like when we had Summer on, we did little Sabrina Carpenter like outros because that was like what she wanted to do. And we had Dead's Kale, Dead Summer Art on. They like quizzed us in trivia, which was really fun. We did a different thing when we just had Ellie on, which I need to edit that episode and post it. And so like we've alternated just the two of us hanging out, and Kiki and I in the last episode we did like a flesh and blood spelling bee with each other. It just off the cuff type of deal. So we've just been incorporating other types of just like I don't wanna say carefree, but just more like fun, lighthearted content into our also overall message, which can tend to be a little bit heavier.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all for the having fun and mixing in there, and to be honest, as somebody who has guests on all the time, and I have to change, so I don't have to change the vibe, but sometimes different guests will warrant a different kind of vibe from me, or I just my relationship with them. I don't know them as well, so I totally understand kind of having to shift it. Now, I love the guests that you get on the pod. I personally I love the Sophia episode. I became a big fan of Sophia when they were playing Riptide in the League That Means Nothing. I was like, oh. And it was like the control Riptide. I was like, yes. And then, as soon as I saw Sophia was coming on the pod, I was like, well, I better ask a question, So it was great. So I'm loving what you guys are doing over there, and for anybody who hasn't checked it out, please do. And I do want to move on to your personal life, not really your personal life, but I know where are you right now? Now, I know that you're in the final stretch of your kind of academic journey of sorts. Maybe it continues to be longer, but right now it seems to be kind of the kind of coming to a tipping point, right? So, with that, there's a lot of balancing, like anybody does, whether it's work or academics or anything else, along with playing Flesh and Blood and along with, for yourself, creating content. How have you found that kind of balance? Because, you amped up the content again in the past 6 months, and you're doing all this academic stuff, and you've traveled for the game a little bit as well. That's like a lot of things to throw at yourself. How do you balance it?
Yeah, it's really hard. If I'll be honest, like last my this past semester, last semester, the past 6 months, I got, like, very, very burnt out with just content, and I also work. I have a job too. So content, my job, my job as a student, and then also just my role as a player being having fun doing this. And last semester I, as you said, I traveled um a good bit for the game. Not as much as some people, but for me it felt like a lot. Yeah.
Hmm.
um so this semester, I just don't think traveling is really in the plans for me. I'm planning on going to U.S. Nationals. People keep asking about Pro Tour London. There's no way. There's just no way I'm going to Pro Tour London. Like it's not happening. Absolutely not. But I do plan on being at US Nats once my semester wraps up. As far as like balancing everything, sometimes I feel like I don't balance it all, if I'm being honest. But this semester, my schedule's a little bit harder too, because I have like these 13-hour days where I'm in work all day, and then I go from work to class, and I'm in class until 8 p.m., which means that if that's what my days are like during the weekdays, this semester I'm not really able to get out to armories, which kind of sucks. We do have like a Saturday armory that I can make it to most Saturdays. Some Saturdays I have academic obligations still on Saturdays, but I try and make it out to at least that one armory a week. I've also started playing Talishar. I've never really been like a Talishar player, but for me a big aspect of it is like accountability. So I'll just like hit up a friend and be like, "Hey, tonight you want to play Talishar?" And then it's like now I'm committed to at least log in and, like, play a game or 2 games because I just need if not, like, I might not play a game that week, and I don't want to not be playing Flesh and Blood, obviously, I love this game. Um, it's really just, like, I have to schedule everything. You should see my calendar. It's, like, down to the minute pretty much every day. It's, like, here's what I'm doing from here to here, from here to here. And then I have yeah, so it's like I have to set aside like 2 hours to record and then like 2 hours to probably edit and figure out like logistically what I'm going to do for the next episode. A million thank yous to Kiki for helping me balance the content side of things because they're just like again best partner. They they handle like a lot of the responsibilities for content, which takes a load off. So I just kind of like edit the videos and record them and be in contact with like planning them, but they go through and like write the descriptions for the episodes and like make sure they get published and tweeted about and posted about. So a million thank yous. I could not balance the content side of things without Kiki.
Yeah, I mean it is hard too, and sometimes you're just like even just the tweeting or the posting of like, hey, watch this thing. Sometimes you're like I just spent all that time doing it and editing it. Now I have to tell people about it. It can be so much, and I understand that it's very tough, and it's impressive that you're able to do it all, considering, and clearly Kiki's helps, but Kiki can't go to class for you, and I mean, well, maybe
That
listen.
would be great.
Listen, when we get them on the pod, we'll ask. So, but that's great. Now, I have to ask, what's some advice you would give to some other people that are having a tough time balancing a bunch of things? Because if it's not content, we all want to play Flesh and Blood, and sometimes it can be hard. I know a lot of folks that I remember seeing at Armory all the time, one baby, and then never again. I mean,
The
maybe
babies, I mean,
the
that
baby can
happens.
wait. We have to
Yeah.
draft.
We we need an 8th person, yeah. Yeah, advice, uh, so, what, like two big things I guess I would say is, like, one, like I said, I was never a Talishar person, but if that's the only way I can engage in the game, like, engaging in the game, in any way that I can is really, uh, I I I I was just trying to prioritize Armory, and especially this semester, it's like, that's not realistic for me, so engaging in the game in any way that I can is, like, a big thing, for me, even if it's just, like, listening to the dev talk that came out this week, so I feel like I'm, like, still um, up to date with things that are happening in the community, like engaging in the game that in any way that you can, whether that's like hitting your friends up to play a few games on Discord or however you can play. If you can't make it out to Armory, like just feeling like you have some sort of engagement in the game is really nice. Watching like, I always have streams on. When there's streams going on, I can sit on that couch and do a million of my math calculations and watch a Flesh and Blood game, that I'm just, like, getting through homework and being able to feel like I'm still, engaging in the game and engaging with the meta and other players virtually, which might not be ideal, but honestly, it helps a lot to just, like, fuel the spark and the, like, itch to wanna play, to just, like, still be engaging. Um, and I would also like, with that, I would say, like, be kind to yourself because I make it out to 1 armory, or I try and make it out to 1 armory a week now that I'm adjusting to this new schedule, and, like, sometimes sometimes if I feel like I'm just had a really rough week and I'm burnt out, then, like, I'm not gonna beat myself up over, like, not going to something like that. I might just, like, try and play some games virtually or, like, you know, I do a lot of the times, like, this past weekend, I was like, "I don't know if I can go out to Armory, that just feels like a lot to me," but it's like, "Okay, I can't go out to Armory. It's just a 20-minute commute, and if I feel like I have to leave early, that's fine." But, like, just really working it into your schedule in any way that you can, I would say, and don't beat yourself up about it when you fall short because balancing things are hard. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because we're interacting with this game as adults, right? And I remember interacting with games as a high school student, and that was easy as pie.
Yeah.
I wish I can go back to that, but yeah, listening to yourself for sure and making sure you take care of yourself is pretty important. Now, I want to get to the fresh faves real quick, but I do want to mention that because since last week's episode, High Seas had not been announced. So that's pretty hype. Clearly, I love Riptide. I don't know if Riptide's showing up. I don't know if we're getting Riptide star of the show. So I saw somebody say, reveal 3 traps from your hand. Your next trap becomes an attack with +7. Go again and dominate. That was quite funny. But pretty hype. What are some hot takes and predictions you have for High Seas before? Because we probably won't talk again before it. I mean, we'll talk, but we probably won't be doing this before High Seas comes out at this point.
High seas. Okay, I don't know if they're much of, like, hot takes, but just things that, like, I kinda wanna see them explore in game design. One, I've been saying actually, I think it was, like, the 2nd episode of Pitch Perfect. Like, Melody and I did an introduction episode, and then we did, like, a get to know us episode, and in that episode, I talked about, like, in the future of Flesh and Blood, I wanna see, like, sirens and mermaids, and I really would love to see, like, some kind of, um some kind of, like, thematic hero around that, that's like a siren and that maybe has, like, a siren's call, which is a card we already have. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
um, that can, like, kind of I don't really know how it would work. I'm not very good at mechanics designing. This is why I don't design games. But, like, I'd like to see some kind of siren with an ability that connects thematically to a siren's call. I also think because we have James White confirmed last night in the Dev Talk, pirates are in high seas. So I'm really interested to see if we have some kind of allyship where you can build up a crew, like thematic in that way. Like if you're allies, you can build a crew. I also think um, playing with Krakens could be a cool thing, like building maybe there's a hero. Another one more thing. I really I feel like it's inevitable that at some point we're going to get like non-human um heroes that are like
Oh yeah.
creatures. Aside from Ocilio, right? Ocilio is like a chandelier, but uh
Yeah.
but like we'll get like some like creature heroes that aren't humans, and I feel like there's potential to do that in High Seas. That'd be cool. I'm gonna, yeah, I think that'd be Kiki threw an idea for one at me, but I guess I won't steal their thunder and say it on the podcast. But I just hearing other people's idea about it, I think it'd be really cool. I think it's a good opportunity to do some stuff like that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I think we've been primed for merfolk, right? You know, sirens, mermaids, merfolk in general is a huge archetype in like Magic and other games. I don't see why we couldn't have it in Flesh and Blood. You know, golly, I'm just very excited. You know,
Like the crab man in The Hunted too. Like,
yeah, the
what if
crab.
he's the
Yeah,
the
listen,
crab man?
he just he doesn't have a weapon. Just like automatically like comes in with token crab hands. That would be
Yeah,
sick.
that'd be sick.
But yeah, I mean, my only hot take so far has been that there's gonna be a mechanic where you become the captain, rather than almost work like marked, but you want to be the captain. If you get hit, they're the captain now. There's a mutiny or something like that. Or if there's like pirate allies and you can only attack with them when you are the captain because, well, they won't take orders from you if you aren't. That is all kind of fun stuff that
Oh,
that would be kind of neat.
that could be cool. Yeah, that could be cool. Something, yeah, where yeah, I like that idea. I like that hot take.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Mm.
see. I mean, people get a little testy about allies existing, so I don't want to like speak it into existence, but I think that we'll get some form of allies in the set. You gotta. It's been a minute.
It feels like the set to have some sort of ally, even if I just have like a little like, yeah, like a parrot friend.
Yeah.
Uh,
Whoa.
yeah, like give it to me, a little parrot ally.
Wait
Yeah,
a
and then I can.
second. All right, now here's another hot take. We got other stuff to talk about, but you know how the Flesh and Blood playmat, the classic playmat, with the
Uh-huh.
equipment slots, right? Head, chest,
Yeah.
arms, legs. Above arms and next to head is another equipment slot for a parrot equipment on your shoulder. Golly, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Anyway, we're just kind of like, yeah. It's I don't know if you ever saw that Chris Farley SNL skit where he's like interviews like famous people. Like he interviewed Paul McCartney, and he goes, "You remember when you were in the Beatles? Yeah, that was cool, huh?" Just like, yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get to your fresh fades for The Hunted, which is the newest set in Flesh and Blood. Elaine, who's your favorite hero from The Hunted?
It's Fang. I feel like that's very obvious, he's basically just Draconic Kasai.
I mean, yeah, yes and no. I think he has his own little flair. I mean, pun intended, flair to him. But yeah, Fang's awesome. Now,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah, does that mean your favorite weapon is?
Obsidian Fire Vein. I like it a lot. It's fun. It 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 does like I just like playing in the reaction step. What can I say?
It's It's awesome. And I saw a Fang 1 in RTN this weekend, which is pretty exciting. A couple were in the finals as well, which is neat. Want to get some eyes on
Yeah.
those lists. What's your favorite equipment?
Okay. No, I swear I'm gonna get off the warrior soon, but it's got to be the Kabuto of Imperial Authority, just because I'm here for the illusionist hate, especially as a warrior. I've had to endure a lot of very bad feeling illusionist games, so give me that Enigma hate.
Yeah. Listen, it is totally fair. And it's also hilarious in the mirror as well. So that's pretty funny. Now,
It is hilarious in the mirror. And see, in an armory, a warrior mirror, like, don't pull this out on me. Don't pull this out on me. But like, at a game, in a real tournament, you can pull this out on me. Don't play this in the mirror at an armory. I'd be so sad.
I mean, that would be pretty wild. I mean, the golly, what's the name of the ninja chess piece from Dynasty that was like good if they had a bunch of chain links? I feel like that never ever made it into like the ninja like sideboard for the mirror. I always thought that that would be pretty sick. But yeah, it kind of
It's a
reminded me.
respect thing, yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite other card from the set? Just card you throw in your deck.
Okay. Can I have a few answers to this?
Yeah,
Or do I
yeah.
have to pick one?
No, yeah. No, just one. No, you can pick as many
Okay,
as you
well,
want.
like, card I card I would throw in my deck and card I've thrown in my deck because I've been playing Fang in the limited format is, like, the red Cut Deep is just so good, that's
Mm.
just like a 0 cost block 3, your next dagger attack gets +4. Even if that's the only card you have in your hand, it's just like, here's, like, 5 damage, it's really it's really good. And then for I also really like the Devotion Never Dies, which is a ninja attack. Um, it's that one cost block 2. Comes in for 4, and it's when this hit, if a draconic attack was the last attack on your combat chain, banish it, and then you can play it this turn. Um, I love that card. I love the art on it. And then the last card I wanna mention as a favorite is the Art of the Dragon Blood, which again is another ninja attack. So those 2 are ninjas. I can't play them in my Fang deck, but I really like them. I think they're really good. I think the art is beautiful. I like the design. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, I'm pretty sure we asked you this last time, but I'm sure things change. What class and talent would you be in the world of Wraith?
Oh, I've I've I would be a warrior, I think. Well,
Hmm.
I'm gonna this is what I wanna be. I don't know if it's what I would be personality-wise, but I would wanna be like a shadow warrior.
Oh yeah,
I just think that would just be like really metal and cool.
that would be so cool. We're due for that. I mean, I've been saying we're due for a bunch of different classes, but Shadow Warrior, awesome.
I've been wanting it just because I think like thematically and aesthetically it would just be like really, really cool. I don't know how it would work mechanically. That's what I would want to be. Realistically speaking, I'm probably like an earth bard or something. Kind of.
Earthbard's pretty cool
No.
too. uh, no, no, that's no Shadow Warrior. I think like you can strive to be any of these, and I think that's the beauty of the question. And you can take it literally or what you'd want to be, which is beautiful. So, Shadow Warrior, Elaine, I could see it. Now, this is a newer question that you've never been asked, at least by me, is what, in your opinion, is the greatest set of all time in Flesh and Blood so far?
Oh goodness. I feel like this is a really hard question because like a Welcome to Wraith I think will always be my favorite set to draft. I just don't know that there's like a better feeling than like opening a box of WTR, drafting it like unsleeved, just like feels like so pinnacle Flesh and Blood and so classic. Um the set that maybe I ooh I don't know. I actually enjoyed like the limited of Rosetta a lot more than I thought I would. And I also liked Rosetta because it kind of, like, pushed me. I played, Ocilio in Rosetta, and never in my life would I have thought that I'd have, fallen in love with, Wizard the way that I did when Rosetta came out, so I liked that set because it kinda, like, pushed me into a new zone of Flesh and Blood that I had never caught my interest before.
It's awesome. I think Rosetta, you kind of nailed it with the limited, you know, in Rosetta. I thought it was incredible, and Acilio also caught my heart. And like I saw everything get spoiled. I'm like Florian for sure. That's what I'll be playing. And then all of a sudden, I have built Acilio and played it at Armory and other things, and I'm just like, this is so much fun. So
Just, like, that unexpected love is so fun, and to just, like, fall in love with a game that you've been playing for so long all over again in a new way is just kind of an awesome feeling, so they nailed
absolutely,
it.
absolutely. Now they just did the Dev Talk number 11, I think it was. Now, our boys Brian and Jimmy hopped on the mics, told us all about what's going on in their noggins. And I appreciate these Dev Talks. I'm sure you feel the same way. And I felt like this one, kind of interesting, like, kind of got ahead. They kind of got ahead of, in my opinion, some stuff that they might expect to kind of blossom into more of maybe an issue, because we've seen them respond to things. I feel like we've seen them respond to the kind of book banning and Zen just in general, which was always really appreciated. But they kind of touched on a couple things. The first one being the whole trigger debate, which I don't necessarily want to really plant my flag. I think just be cool, like I just want to like play games and follow the rules and stuff like that, and like, but also be like chill. So I think that's kind of that. But how did you enjoy this Dev Talk and kind of even that conversation, at least them kind of addressing it?
I really enjoyed this dip talk. I really love just any time that James and Brian together or individually sit down and talk about something. I think they're both just like so transparent and down to earth, and like I always will appreciate them and for that, and it will always make me say like in LSS we trust, right? To I guess briefly touch on um the trigger debate that's going on. I liked that they kind of sat down and had an honest conversation about where the current rules policy stance came from, and they didn't just say like, "Oh, we just made this decision because of X, Y, and Z." They were like, "Nah, it's a really difficult debate. There's no way to satisfy everyone, and like this is what the opposite of that side of the opposite of the coin looks like." And there's flaws on both ends, and like we yeah, we're doing the best we can. I appreciate like that transparency from them, and I think that it did offer some like nice perspective on where we currently stand with the triggers rulings or rules. I also really liked they talked about some changes to pre-releases that I
Mm.
think are really exciting coming up. Just
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of interesting, because that was something that I had already seen people mumbling about. Like US Nats was like, is that release week? I think,
yeah.
and there's a lot of talk about the cost of cards right now, and I think that a lot of the comments, and we'll talk about that in a bit, really hinted at that. Like you can see that that's on the minds of a lot of people. And yeah, they announced that there's going to be more product available for stores to do drafts or even sell on pre-release weekends. I think they mentioned that well, not each, I don't know if it was each store, but most stores got at least an additional case this time around for like drafts to go alongside. But they anticipate more, which is good. And I understand supply chain stuff, and to be honest, this kind of led into the conversation about Hunter's Clave, which is a hot topic. Shout out the mall, but not a hot topic enough for me to, I'm not really worried about it. I don't think, because I know that it's like $70 now or something. Last time I saw somebody post a screenshot, there have been a lot of screenshots being posted about that card. But
Well, look at it.
take a look. It's kind of interesting because I do feel like the Hunted came at such a interesting time in trading card games. Magic the Gathering, love or hate it, once again I feel recently alienated a lot of their base again. And Flesh and Blood is doing some great stuff continually. And the Hunted was a flavor win and a mechanic win and all this other stuff. Brought a lot more people to the game. A lot more people want to play this game, right? And when demand goes up, if the supply doesn't change, some things are going to be expensive. So I think we're still in the early wave of that, and that it should settle down. And that's what they kind of tried to say, that this is printed at the same rate as we would any of the other Majestic Daggers, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want people opening up too many, and then it's just like worthless, and they keep having extra cards. I appreciated that kind of transparency because it's on people's minds, understandably. And yeah, you should want to be able to play the new hero and not have to worry about spending so much money on the weapons. But what did you say it was right now?
It's like 52 basically.
Yeah.
It's 51.76.
So it's come down a little bit, and I expect it to come down more. So I understand why people are worried about it. Where do you fall on this kind of conversation?
I'm not that worried about it, but again, like I said, I'm very much like an LSS we trust person. I've been playing this game 3 years. The game has seen a lot of growth in those 3 years. I think LSS have we've had things like this happen before, and it's I don't think it's ever been like that big of an issue or something that LSS hasn't kind of presented some sort of solution to later on. And in James and Brian's talk, um, they did talk about what you talked about. Like it's hard to predict like the the market and alongside of the growth of our game, and like how do we manage expectations with the new set when it comes to growth of the game versus like the product that we have been printing for the current like size of and demand of the game. So it's like I think it's this game is not that old for a TCG. It's still a new TCG and they're still learning, but I think that the fact that they have a lot of transparency and have had solutions to issues like this in the past, I'm not too worried about it.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I worked in the supplier side of things for like 8 years, and that is what LSS is, right? They send their product to a distributor, and the distributor sends it out to the retailers, right? And I can count on all my fingers and all my toes the amount of times that the projections were wrong, right? In one way or the other, right? Where you're like, this is going to be the biggest product release of all time, and nobody bought it, right? And the distributors are like, what the heck's going on? And then the retailers who did buy it in and didn't sell to the customers are like, what are you going to do for me with all this stuff taking up my shelves? And then I've also been on the other side where you're like, okay, we want to be conservative about this release. We're not really sure. It's a little bit risky. And then everybody's like, well, why didn't you give me 1 billion cases of it? And so I like when I hear things like this, and I think the Hunter's Clave is a byproduct of this happening with the Hunted, where it was a booming success. I feel for LSS because it's like you lose one way, you lose the other. It's tough.
Yeah, and they did admit that, like, they did not think The Hunted would have the success that it has had because it's been great. People have been enjoying it. I'll be, like, 100% transparent. I have enjoyed The Hunted a lot more than I kind of anticipated to myself. And as far as, like, what I feel like I've been seeing on a just a speaking on a local level with growth. Like it feels the same. It feels like we've had as many new players come in to try out the hunted as we did Mistveil. And Mistveil attracted a lot of new players, at least like locally speaking. Like I feel like every time I went to an event where where Mistveil was being played, in the limited format, it was just huge. And the hunted feels the same way currently. So they didn't really. It seemed like they weren't planning for the hunted to have the hype that it did have and has had.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced it too. Even golly, the pre-release I did at Gilded Raven in Somerset. I
Yeah,
think it was
yeah.
like 50 players or something like that, which is it was like crazy. Like it was packed to the gills, and it's exciting, and the sets fun as hell to open because like some of these like pools you're like what the heck, you see that like you see that Command and Conquer the legendary you're like
Yes.
oh yeah. So I don't know. I get it. I understand, and I hope that it all settles down a little bit. They also touched on the hunted meta, which is only really 1 week in. We saw Syndra win Memphis and a couple other things. Then Road to Nats looks like Viscera is doing good. Probably will LL by the end of RTN. I'm sorry, Gary. Yeah, both Visceras not be able to play in Blitz or CC, not to rub it in. But I don't know. Do you have any takes on what's going on with the meta? How many of these heroes are going to hit LL?
It seems like we kind of have a lot approaching. Like when the we just got that LL update this a few days ago, maybe yesterday. I don't remember, my days meshed together. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a lot more people getting close than I thought too." And Syndra had like 144 points or something. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Well, that's kind of crazy." Zen is about to LL too. Um, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. It's a fun kind of meta. I've actually, for the first time in over a year, been pushed off of CC Kasai because this meta feels just so, like, open and fun, so I'm trying new things too.
Yeah, we saw Verdance have some good showings. Jarl,
Yeah,
I think, won Battle
Yar
Hardened.
wasn't the finals of that Verdance
Yeah,
Jarl?
yeah,
Yeah,
Jarl
like
Verdance. Yeah.
yeah. I've been seeing, like, takes this like, Bravo's pretty viable in this meta, uh, so
Listen,
it's kinda
I mean, I look at some of these results, and I get pretty excited to be playing Riptide this weekend. As long as I don't run into Enigma. But listen, Enigma has to adapt to the Syndras, so hopefully that makes them a little bit weaker to Riptide. But it's all very exciting, and like there's such a nice spread of heroes winning, which is really cool. And to be honest, I thought Arachne Marionette was not going to be. I thought it was just going to be fun, and here Arachne is winning things, which is crazy.
Arachne is doing pretty good. Marinette and is Slippy too, I believe.
Yeah, Slippy as well.
Yeah,
Slippy and Mario.
Slippy and Mario.
It's very exciting. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But you know, all that being said, I really enjoyed the dev talk. The thing I did notice though, I kept looking at the comments, and there was a lot because people really tune in for these things, right? James O'Brien speaks, people tune in, right? That's what's gonna happen. And there was just a lot of talk about like we need more reprints, right? People are saying like your game can't survive on $1,000 CC decks and stuff like this. And they may be right, they may be wrong. I'm not sure. I'm not here to kind of debate that, but I do think we might need some reprints. And we just saw another CNC reprint, and I think the biggest kind of not shocker, but I think people really expected like Codex of Frailty, right? That's the big one here. And,
Right.
you know, I don't know what their plan is with reprints going forward, but I think we're getting to that point where we might need another history pack or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say history pack. I know they've been doing kind of like other reprints and history packs, like catching up like the Japanese market and stuff. But they might just like I'm curious to see if when was the last time we got a history pack? I feel like
Oh, geez, it's
it's
been a
been a
while.
it's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while. So and we had two that were pretty like the first two were pretty close together, and then we haven't had one in a minute. So I'm kind of I just don't know. I think that I think you and I talked last time because they had just kind of like started doing armory decks last time I was on the pod and we talked about
Mhm.
that being like a nice like eloquent way for them to release reprints and also what like how they just had that guardian supplementary kind of crack and play also being a nice way to maybe introduce some reprints but I just don't know if, like, what they're doing currently is enough. Like you
Mhm.
said, I'm not here to debate whether the game can survive on the reprints that they're doing right now, but if the people do feel like they need it, I'm kinda curious if, history packs are just gonna become, like, a more regular thing. I don't think that would be a bad idea, but also, I'm not an expert, I'm just little me, so
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, we are content creators. We know everything until the comments tell us otherwise.
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
but I'm just gonna do a little quick look on TCG Player. I'm just sorting from highest to lowest price, right?
I
And
did the same thing, yeah.
great minds, Elaine. Can you believe it? So, in terms of reprints, there's this. I should have just sorted just for um,
It's a lot
singles.
of promos. The promos are going, like,
Yeah, promos are going
for a
crazy.
lot. These gym
Um,
pack promos are going crazy,
some of the
which is
new
good to see.
cards. We've had a Crown of Providence reprint. I should have sorted it by like Majestic. Oh, I can do that. Maybe rarity.
Say, Crown of Dominion, uh, I would like that card reprinted. I feel like it's
So we know Command and Conquer is expensive. We just had a reprint at Legendary. Don't know if that helps, but I think it has come down from like 100 to about 80, which is good. I think it's probably a fair price for that card. It is pretty incredible. Codex of Frailty, $90. That's a lot. That you usually need three of them. That's for sure. Um,
a lot.
Warmonger's Diplomacy, $80. That's probably a staple that they probably want to reprint. But then you start getting in. I mean, Shelter from the Storm is expensive, but we can't reprint that one yet. That one just hit the market. E Strikes at a fair, I think 45, which is pretty good. I mean, these are all the market prices. I'm not really sure where they're actually falling, but some of these like generic things, like the Weakest Link, the Hunter's Clave is 45 as well here. We're getting to that point where we're gonna need some generic reprints. I don't think, and like things like Codex of Frailty, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, Codex.
so well. This is crazy. I'm just looking. I just saw Art of War at $7, but that's that's a whole other
Wow, what
bag
a
of hammers,
that's crazy. What a crazy thing to think about.
right? If
Yeah,
if okay, so we met at Pro Tour New Jersey, the first Pro Tour. You were cosplaying as Icelander. I was
3
wearing
years ago.
I was wearing that sign. Oh no, it's the sign. That
Yeah,
sign
that's
on
yeah.
my back. If I told you right then Art of War is gonna be $7 in 3 years, what would you say?
I said, "You're crazy."
I
No. No,
know.
it's not.
But here we
The best
are.
card in the game.
Best card in the game. I mean, it was.
It's a
So
crazy card.
yeah. So I mean, Codex. I think definitely we got they got to figure that out. It's a as somebody who plays that card all the time, and figuring that out is not banning it. Please, for the love of God, because Riptide would feel so bad without Codex.
Or just, like, ban it, except, like, not for Riptide.
That would be
Have
sick.
a caveat. Only Riptide can play.
But you know what the problem is there, Elaine, is that then Riptide will just be the best deck because all of a sudden, like, Yeah, well, we're all going to play the deck that can play the best card. So
Just give him the Starvo treatment. He'll LL like shoot.
he's so good. He's about to have his day, I swear, until people are like, Command and Conquer is really good against traps. So, are there any other reprints you think we desperately need? Maybe some like staples like Sink Below and stuff like that, but you can easily fit those into a limited set.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that like we are I think Codex is like the big one. I'm looking through this list and everything seems pretty reasonable aside from Codex. I'm just scrolling through TCG Player like you were doing. Um I do yeah, I think like the like you said like sinks, just some like common staples. I think that E-Strike is pretty fair right now at 45. It because E-Strike also is a card like it's 45 right now, and that's because we just had a new set come out. People are like excited. We're getting back into kind of like we're about to get back into a competitive tournament with RTN starting back up, and then we're gonna have Pro Tour and Nats, and we'll be really at the height. And so, like, I think if you actually look at E-Strike, it was probably like $10 cheaper a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it has like a natural fluctuation with the market that I don't think is a bad thing. I wouldn't be mad if they reprinted it, but I wouldn't say it's like a needed reprint like Codex.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and then like I guess like the big other chunk of change that people are gonna have to spend money on are the legendaries. I mean, Flick Knives is out of control. It's another Outsiders card that probably should have seen a reprint in the set. It seemed like it was a lot of these heroes were built about it around it. So kind of interesting that it wasn't, but some of these probably need a reprint. Valiant Dynamos could use one probably as well.
I would like Valiant Dynamos to get a reprint. I already, I have Valiant, obviously, but I do think it's a little high for Warrior sitting where it's sitting.
Yeah. So the consensus here is that we need some reprints, and I think that the comments. And this is the beautiful thing about LSS. They're going to read those comments. There's no way they're not. And, you have to do reprints in a smart way, right? You don't want to tank the value of the collectors, out there. But you look at even Final Spring Tunic, like all those editions of that card are still pretty expensive. So like you can still do it. It just doesn't, just make them not $200.
Yeah, yeah. Tunic is one that has boggled me because they've reprinted it a few times. It's still up there. It feels like it just always will be.
Is that in Bright Lights? I feel like it is. That's the
I think it is like the one card that I would. Well, I'm not a Bright Lights fan.
me neither. Me neither.
Yeah, I think it is maybe like the card of Bright Lights that it's like, oh, but you could hit Tunic.
Yeah, yeah. Then there was probably maybe like one or two other things, but yeah, Tunic was the big one. So let's LSS. We know you're out there listening. We solved it for you. You're welcome. Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah, we just named a couple bangers for you. Just throw them out there for us. So, but with all that, that was some pretty in-depth Fresh and Buds analysis, as you usually get on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We do have some listener questions for Elaine. These are from the Buds Discord, which is free to join. Anybody can join. It's in the show notes below. First one comes from Dead Summer Art, aka Kale, who asks, "What's your favorite way to partake in some delicious pickles? I'm partial to a good burger with plenty of pickles."
Okay. Actually I consume pickles in pretty much any way that I can. I just got a package in the mail yesterday. It was full of pickles and it had some dill pickle fudge in it. It's
Whoa.
actually pretty good.
Okay.
But let me
All right.
a burger is not bad. I am allergic to beef, so I have to eat a vegetarian burger, but I like a nice crispy pickle on a sandwich. I would say I the most I eat pickles though is just like just a nice cold pickle, just a pickle. I like to let the pickle shine on its own. My favorite way after that to eat pickles is something that I don't think anyone else does. Um, and like it's a piece of toast with peanut butter and then like sliced pickles on top of that.
That's not crazy. That's not crazy.
It's
I think
good.
the fudge was crazy. The fudge was crazy. That's not crazy.
Yeah, pickle peanut butter toast.
Sounds. I mean, it's probably not what I'm going for, but like I'm known to just throw pickles and like feta cheese on like a wrap with like some hot sauce and then just eat it like that. So sometimes you just need like you love pickles, but sometimes you're like I need like nutrients or something like that, like carbs, and you're just like, well,
Yeah,
got to create an interesting vessel for my pickles.
it's a nice like like sweet and like sweet and savory mix. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also like crunchy and soft and like hot and cold because you have like the like warm toast with the cold pickle. Like I don't know, it's just like a nice contrast of snacks.
I no listen, listen. I get it. I understand. Now, actually, now I'm glad that Summer brought up burgers. I'm also off the beef. I was having trouble with beef as well, so I miss beef. I loved beef. I'm gonna keep saying beef. Doritos came out with a flavor recently. It's like their late night cheesy cheeseburger Dorito, and they were on sale at my local grocery store. So I was like, oh, I'll pick these up. It was like 2 for $5. So I grabbed one of those and one of something else that I know I like. I tried these burger chips. They were so good. And it was like biting into like I don't know, like a McDonald's cheeseburger, a White Castle burger, and you get like a little bit of that cheesy flavor, a little bit of that like pickle flavor, and a little bit of that onion and like ketchup-y kind of things going on. It sounds like it shouldn't work. It's destroyed the bag immediately. It was so good.
I'm gonna have to try that. I feel like I haven't had beef in years, like since I started playing Flesh and Blood. I guess it's been about 3 years since I've had beef, and I've it's been so long though, I guess my point is, like, I don't think I've forgotten what beef tastes like, but I think I have because I'll, like, try something and then I'll freak out and be like, "Oh my gosh, I accidentally just ate beef. I think they didn't give me a vegetarian burger, it's a beef burger." And then my friend will try and is like, "This tastes like a mushroom. Like, what are you talking about?" You know? And so I really I would like to try these Doritos because I bet maybe even if you've had beef more recently than the
Hmm.
past 3 years, um, and you enjoyed them, so
Well, so I don't know how beefy they taste per se, but they're definitely nailing the accoutrements of a burger, which I think is what's really hitting.
well, I was never like you said you miss beef. Beef was like I was never a beef person. I was never I loved a gross hamburger, and I miss gross hamburgers, but,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't miss, like I never really ate steak and things like that, like, it just I would always choose, like, fish over a steak my whole life. So, like, cutting out beef was like, "Oh, it's fine," except every now and then when I'm like, "I just want a burger,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't have that."
I'm the same way. Like was never steak really. I mean, like a nice filet mignon or something like that. Something like really like tender. I would like it, and but like a burger, like a cheesesteak, that's what I really miss. So like the gross stuff. Like usually when you're
Yeah.
12 beers in and you've made all your poor decisions. So what's another one? So
Right, right, right.
um yeah, I would try them. They're good. Capolo comes in and asks, "What's in store for season 3 of Rainbow Pitch League, and what's the weirdest thing pickle flavored you tried? Was it good?"
Okay, what's in store for season 3 of the Rainbow Pitch League? I can't say too much about that right now, because I don't know, it's happening. That's in store. It's definitely happening. Um, we have a few changes that we're planning to make this season, but I think majority of them that we have right now are just planned for like the administrative side to make my life and Kiki's life hopefully a little bit easier, which will make the league run smoother and hopefully improve player experience. But I don't know. We're gonna start officially planning. We usually start in March officially planning the season. We'd like to take a break because it's very exhausting. So can't say too much, but it's happening. There will be some changes. I just can't can't speak too much on it. The weirdest thing pickle flavored I've tried and was it good? Um, I guess maybe the weirdest thing is the fudge that I had last night. Like I've had like tons of like pickled flavored like gummies. Um, but I don't know I don't know if that's like very weird. I have like I've had like, pickle Sour Patch Kids and gummies and that sort of things, but the fudge maybe was the weirdest. And it was good. It was very, like, dill pickly on the front end, and then it had a very nice, like it got very sweet, actually. It was kind of like, oh, white chocolate with pickle undertones, which surprisingly was kinda nice.
So, I'll take your word for it. Yikes. No, next next question comes from Nathaniel from Bulber Games, who doesn't really have a question. So it's not really a question, but a statement of, I love the ep on Pitch Perfect, a woman's perspective. As a dad with 2 little girls that have already shown interest in card games, I just wanted to say I appreciate the hard work you are doing in making the TCG space a safer place for people now and future generations. Also, Darth Prentice chimed in and said he agrees, and so do I.
Well, thank you to all 3 of you. That really means a lot. The episode, A Woman's Perspective, was I don't know. It was maybe like a month and a half of actual like production, but it really was 3 years of work because I feel like myself and Carolina really we started playing Flesh and Blood at the same time, and I feel like we really did our best to try and just be very very open and honest. And there was lots of crying and cuts and editing that had to be done. And we just wanted to present something just like real, whether it was impactful or not, just honest. So I really appreciate that. It's definitely an episode that was scary in some ways to release and hard in some ways to release and exciting and liberating in other. It was a lot went into that episode. I appreciate it.
Well, we all really appreciate it, and we all really appreciate what you do, and it's important, and you know it can be scary, of course, but I know that we live in a time where it feels like the good guy doesn't win so much, but I think it's still important for the good guy to fight. So I think it's awesome. So we're all very proud of it. So here at Fresh and Buds. So thank you.
Thanks. Means a lot. Yeah.
Of course. Anytime. Now, this has been a fun episode, as it always is with you, Elaine. And I want you to plug everything that you need to plug. And of course, thank you so much yet again for sitting down with me and having a chat.
Yeah, you can find me on I'm not really on Twitter anymore, although my profile still exists, so you can find it there if you're interested in it. But I'm mainly just on Blue Sky now, under Hamontree. All my socials, just Hamontree, like 3 words: ham on tree, bacon on bush, pork on shrubbery. It's and then of course I am part of Pitch Perfect podcast that is also on Twitter and Blue Sky under Pitch Perfect Pod and on YouTube and all of Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen. Um, yeah, and then the Rainbow Pitch League, if you're someone who's eligible to play in that, we run that every summer. It usually kicks off in June, July-ish, and we want to keep growing it and keep improving it. So
Awesome. Awesome. Very excited for it. As always, you can all find me on mostly Blue Sky these days. Like Elaine, I still have my Twitter profile for whatever reason. And Discord, Buzz Discord's awesome. We hit 1,000 subs on YouTube. That's pretty sick. Ooh, 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 ooh. I have some scarves to pack and send away. I got to pick some winners randomly, of course, and it is very exciting. Also, check out my other podcast I do with my cousin called Fresh Juice. We talk about indie video games. It's very fun. This week, my co-host announced he's having a baby, and I'm the godfather. So I'm going to be
congratulations.
a girl goddad. So that's that's pretty exciting. I'm very excited for that. So yeah. And finally, we already talked a lot about pickles, but is there any other food you want to talk about, Elaine?
Oh goodness, I love food. Just like any food, or like what have I been really eating lately?
Listen, what are you craving right now?
Oh, that's such a. If I could have any, like honestly, probably Cane's. I've really been wanting some Cane's
Oh,
chicken lately. Um, Also, it's Mardi Gras season, and this is the longest I've gone into the year as a native Louisianian without having king cake. And tomorrow morning, my parents are coming to visit, and they are flying up with king cake. So I'm also really excited about that.
do you put the little baby in there?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. I was just making sure. I was never really, until I met my wife, I didn't really ever do that. And now, like it, I haven't gotten the baby yet out of the cake, but I guess maybe one day. Now, I do want to tell
Where are
you.
you,
What was that?
where are you getting king cake from up here?
They make it. They just make. It's not like real king
Yeah.
cake. It's like
Okay. Okay.
Prince cake. I don't know. Maybe jester cake. Listen, I don't. I was just exposed to it. I don't really know, but I will tell you a funny story from my dinner tonight. We got Chinese food. Chinese food, excellent. I worked at a Chinese restaurant for 6 years. Best job I ever had in my life. I wish I could still
Wow.
do it. My fortune cookie said, focus on self-care and self-love in January. It is February, so I'm going to be holding on to that one for a little bit. So, but unfortunately, because that was for January, we don't have time to get to Charmer this week, but maybe next week. Thank you all.
Next week.
Goodbye.